Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga-Texas construction update video.
Well, hey everybody, it's Friday here at Giga-Texas. A lot of interesting pieces of information and things going on at the site that we'll go into during the video. But first, I just want to remind everybody that we are less than a week away from the potential of sending 4 astronauts to the moon. And this is the first time in almost 54 years. Right now, it's still looking like perhaps the 1st of April is the launch date, but they have several more days in the first part of April, so a lot of opportunities. Now, in a way, I'm actually going to the moon with the Artemis II program. With the link at the bottom of the screen here and in the video description, you can put your name on to the list that is going to be sent around the moon. So kind of pretty cool, and just a little tiny piece of me going to the moon finally. But as far as Giga-Texas, a couple of things I want to go over today. First, over at the test track, more work, more definition of the various different tracks that are showing up over there. It looks like at least 3 different kinds of track plus a frontage road that allows entry, and also looks like off River Road there may be another connecting road being added in. So they're getting that track ready and also the infrastructure for that. Switching gears, going all the way up to the very far north, we see more preparation work of that large field. And you can see there's a lot of earthwork equipment underway, more of that gravel and or the broken up concrete mix being spread, and just generally more work across the entire graded surface. Now, one thing I did notice today of interest when we get to the activities with production and with the robotaxi service that's going on here, I noticed these Model Ys looks like they were doing robotaxi testing and training. This often happens in this part of the site, and they had this group of Model Ys kind of maneuvering in and out of each other, almost simulating as if it's in a congested roadway or a parking spot. But it's very interesting that they are dedicating a lot of time to this. As far as Cybercabs are concerned, now there are about 8 or so in the outbound lot ready for transportation. These are the testing and engineering versions, so these are not the final production versions. Did not see any over at the exit point for the factory today, but I did see a few more, probably the same ones up at crash testing, waiting for more of that testing work to continue. One last thing I do want to remind you about before we get into the video. Not only is this a Friday, but yesterday was the last production day of the quarter here at Giga-Texas. General assembly is down for Model Y's Cybertrucks, and it will be all next week and most of the following week. And that is for line upgrades, maintenance, and perhaps some other activity that's going on in the factory. As mentioned on my previous video, I don't know if this is going to affect the Cybercab production line, which is separate, but we are very close. In fact, next week is April. That is the official date that Tesla has put out as for the start of production of Cybercabs. So that'll be something that I'll be watching, and hopefully we'll see some more activity on that next week. So with that said, let's get the drone in the air, fly around and see what's going on here at Giga-Texas on this Friday, and also pretty much the end of the first quarter 2026. As always, thank you very much for your support. Let's go flying.
If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga-Texas. Well, good morning from the west side of Giga-Texas, looking back at the main factory over the new rental equipment lot and this north part of the site that is still partially undeveloped. As we cross over Farm to Market 973, wanted to give you an update of this part of Giga-Texas, which has been used for a lot of the dirt that's being used for construction around the site. Now, this used to have a lot of linear hills and ponds from sand and gravel mining. As you can tell, quite a bit of that has now been removed. And the amount of dirt and materials is pretty substantial. And as I mentioned, it's being used around the site for construction. This is kind of the marshalling area here at the bottom of the screen where all the trucks usually arrive. And then after they pick up the dirt, they bring it across the road and back over to the main site. So I'm going to fly up closer to the main factory, enjoy a little bit of the early morning sun, and we'll resume the narration here momentarily. As we arrive at the outbound lot, there is a good amount of activity on the lot itself, but first I wanted to show you what is going on here. Now, this is very interesting. This part of the site is been used in the past for testing of both full self-driving or self-driving and also robo-taxis. What it looks like here is that they are testing kind of a congested area and with various vehicles trying to move through a smaller area, one of these little roadways. Perhaps this is congested road or maybe a parking lot that they are testing all of this out with. But just very interesting, and you can tell that they're doing some backing up through the other lane as well. So I'm not sure what exactly they're testing, but it is possible that it's related to a self-driving as we're getting ready for full self-driving 14.3 to arrive, or maybe they're doing some robotaxi preparation work. But either case, I think that's a great sign. Now, as we fly over the material staging yard, I wanted to show you that there's some deliveries going underway next to all of these transformers, which of course there are a lot of them here stored. Most of those have been used off-site in the past. Also, this is some materials at the bottom of the screen that have been associated with the 4680 cell portion of the factory, still waiting for installation. And of course, we have a lot of superchargers in this workshop, various ones, including some of the mobile superchargers at the bottom of the screen, and what may be the folding unit bases that we've heard about from Tesla Energy recently here at the bottom of the screen. Good shot of what's going on here in the workshop as well, with some of the cabinets being attached to some of the frames. Now, those folding units are pretty interesting. They come, as you just saw, together there on a truck with all of the posts and superchargers attached, but then they unfold for installation, and it saves about 20% of the time for installation. So pretty neat. I brought the drone up to a higher altitude to show you what is going on with the test track, or more appropriately, 3 test tracks. We have the main oval, we have the smaller oval, and then in between or in the infield of the smaller oval, it's a new track is starting to emerge. We also see perimeter road access at the bottom of the screen and coming in on the left of the screen off of River Road onto the track. And I also think that we're going to start seeing some support facilities being built in the infield and also to the left of the screen coming into view in this kind of projected location. As I maneuver around, you can really get a sense of that wavy road in the middle of the smaller oval, and with the turnaround lanes on either side. So I think that even though it's not fully defined yet, I think that's part of the design of the track. The one last thing I'm not sure about is where the ponds are and the grass is. Maybe they will reserve that for an off-road course for the Cybertruck. I don't know. I would like to see that. I think many people would, and I think it would be appropriate considering that this is the only factory for Cybertruck and they need a place to do some off-road testing. But nevertheless, this is a lower altitude view of some more of the geotextile membranes being placed in for this kind of the infield test track, and just a closer look at this access road that's coming into view. I also think that with the risers for lighting, this is still going to be a parking lot, perhaps for some facilities as well. Now, a nice view across the west warehouse on wheels to the main factory and the south end of Giga-Texas. I'll maneuver around at this altitude towards the Cyber tunnel, and we'll reposition to take a look at what is going on in the outbound lot today. We talked about this in the intro. Production is not happening today. It's a Friday. And for the next 2 weeks, essentially general assembly for Model Ys and Cybertrucks will be shut down. And that is for line upgrades, some maintenance, and some other activities that are going on inside the factory. So most of these vehicles are going to be transported off-site over the weekend. Now, as we get closer to the north part here, we see that there are 8 more Cybercabs. These are the engineering versions. They have steering wheels and pedals. People continue to ask questions about this and are a little bit confused. These are what are used to do testing around the country to prepare for the Cybercab production and introduction into the robotaxi fleet. These are not customer or passenger carrying vehicles. These are for testing only. And I know I'm going to continue to get a lot of questions about that because there's a lot of misinformation and other speculation out there, but that is in fact what these are. But here's a good low altitude view of all 8 of these here in the outbound lot, and kind of a good view of these last of the pre-production engineering test Cybercabs before production begins. And we've been hearing April is the production start target. We are just a few days away from that, so that'll be something I'll be looking for, given the caveats what I said about the schedule. More direct deliveries are being set up here at the north end of the end-of-line facility. And to prepare to go across the road, I'm going to kind of keep at this altitude, fly up to the north, show you what the full factory looks like from this vantage point, and we'll prepare to resume on the other side of the highway. Nice view I don't give you often of the north end of Giga-Texas from Tesla Road. We're going to continue to lower down the altitude, come into near where the melt center is. I wanted just to show you the work that's going on with these access points on the ground, the concrete that has been excavated away, and this is access points for conduit through this location. We do see some more Cybertruck castings in these racks on the northeast corner, and as I maneuver in towards the north part of the paint shop, wanted to zoom in and show you that there is a few changes and some significant number of these forms for Cybercabs on these racks, including for the first time that I've seen the front bumper, and you can see that at the bottom center of the screen. And there's also, it looks like, some more of those, along with the fenders, the quarter panels, the roof, the hood, and the hatch, and a few other pieces. And as I continue to maneuver around, I'll show you that all the crates that were here, and we saw that body that had been shipped in, those have all been unpacked and removed from the site. The one body that you see by the loading platform has been there for several weeks, and it's a Model Y standard, or just the rear-wheel drive variant. And I'm not sure why that is out there, but the other body that was shipped in the crates has been moved inside. As we go around the northwest corner of the building to this point here, I'll just show you the actually lack of activity of recycling of the cans for the 4680s. So that is really not happening today. As we pass the employee entrance on the left, and we see some berm work on the right of the screen, I wanted to pay a quick attention here to this loading platform and some materials that are being offloaded from this truck rental. You can see they're being put onto a platform and getting ready to be brought up onto that loading platform, where a worker is waiting for the crane to deliver those items. I'm going to turn back to the berm and show you just some additional work that is being done by some bobcats and some markers that they're placing. and what this looks like as it continues all the way down to the south end of the factory. No production today, so there is no vehicles coming out of the exit point next to those two rounded top tents. A nice view of the flags as we get ready to end the first quarter of 2026. And I'll bring the drone up to a higher altitude. We'll fly over the factory and we'll resume on the east side, take a look what's going on at the casting machine section and the melt center. I'll zoom in here. We can see that there is more of those aluminum wheels for recycling, some other activity around the melt center, many castings in the racks next to the baghouse filtration plant, a lot more of the crates next to the base of the wall. On the right hand side of the screen, this is what the secondary main entrance looks like, and just a little bit more materials just to the south of that entrance. As we pan along the receiving doors, we'll see that these items here, these 4 temporary chillers, all of the pipes that are being attached and sent through the walls. This is to support that thermoplastic injection molding. Inside the factory walls here are where those at least 4 machines are, and that is supporting the plastic fenders and body panels for the Cybercab. And then the line continues all the way down to these 2 silos. That large door is where the Cybercabs would exit the factory, and we don't see any of that today. I thought I would look down into these bins really quick. Looks like it's mostly recycled material. What I'm really trying to do is to see if there's any items, steel, scraps, anything like that may be coming out of the stamping machine section that may indicate a new model is being built. I do not see any of that today, but we do get a great view of all of this new equipment that has been delivered, some of it in the blue top crates, other crates nearby, and the gantry crane with the SPMT to unload some pretty heavy equipment. And all that's being put into the part of the factory, which is a stamping machine section. We do see continued excavation here on the southeast corner with some of the trench boxes next to the cooling system. And I'll keep the zoom in as we follow along the expansion of River Road. You can see that curbs are being installed. Also in the top center of the screen, we see some more pipes being installed, which we'll get a good view of here momentarily, and more work here on the east side to prepare for the advanced technology fab, which will be being put on that east side of the factory. I'll kind of maneuver around here, show you the main factory itself from this vantage point across over to the end of line and outbound lot, which we were just at, downtown Austin at the top of the screen. And as I continue to maneuver here to look across the south end of the factory and the river, you can see the test track clearly defined in the top of the screen. So hopefully that gives you a really good idea of where everything is located that we were looking at earlier in the video. I bring the drone down lower, show you what is going on here with the River Road extension, some of the medians that are being put into place, some of the pipe work, and also more of the medians here at the intersection of Robotic Avenue. Near this location by the parking garage, there is some excavation for pipes with some of the trench boxes, and this is what that operation looks like today. And they'll be extending that roadway across the south part of the parking garage over to Robotic Avenue. As I mentioned before, I bring the drone down lower. You can see that they are installing this blue pipe along the extension of the River Road. Also, it looks like a slanted slope into that pond where there's some excavation work underway. And then what we're looking at here with all of the workshops, the recycle center and the warehouse and wheels is where that advanced technology fabrication facility will be built. And also a great view here of that work on this southeast corner where River Road is coming through the pond. And then there'll be another road that connects over to Electric Avenue on the north side of the parking garage. I'll kind of maneuver around here just to try to give you this idea of all of the space that will be occupied by that new advanced technology fab. Of course, all of the materials that you see here, structures, trailers, and vehicles, will have to be moved away for that construction. To allow that construction to begin, a lot of these items that you see at the bottom of the screen are being relocated away from this area. There was some just at the bottom of the screen that has been removed, and that work will continue. Speaking of removing, this very large pile of dirt with a lot of the concrete debris on it is being slowly removed. Much of the concrete debris has now been removed from this hill and taken up for the crushing operations. And they're going to have to remove all of the dirt as well to flatten out the grade for the construction. These structures here, the one next to the trees, and the former concrete maintenance facility, which has been removed, is also part of the reconfiguration of this section for that construction site. All of the containers that you see here are, again, speculation, but it's possible because of the maintenance facility that was here for decades, it's possible that they are controlling and containing some of the contaminated dirt that was in that location. As we fly along, where eventually Tesla Road will come through this section, the south end of the battery cathode plant, I wanted to show you what's going on here, not only at the crash test facility, but looking up to the north where some of the earthwork is, and we will see that closer momentarily. This is what that new crash test dummy lab looks like. Also a zoom in of some of the test vehicles and the Cybercabs getting ready for more of the crash testing. Now, many of these have been here for a while. There is one that is missing the door, as you can tell in the center right of the screen, and it just shows that there is still more activity with that yet ahead. I'm going to bring the drone up to a higher altitude first to give you a bird's eye view of the earthwork that is being done on the east side of the battery cathode plant, the relationship of the battery cathode plant and Cortex 2, plus the large expansion of the electrical switch yard at the top of the screen, and a nice view of downtown Austin as well. As I continue to maneuver around the tree line and the Colorado River on the left-hand side of the screen, you can tell where River Road will come through, and the work around the trees continues to prepare this for that construction, removing hills and valleys. And of course, that will connect all the way to the south end of the factory along the river. I'm going to pan to the north to show you this large construction site that is underway here in the far north. Of course, we have Lone Tree Field on the right. And at the top of that Lone Tree Field, we see some of that debris being prepared for removal. The bottom of the screen, a temporary recycling yard. And the middle of the screen, where they're putting some materials, at least temporarily, taking advantage of the concrete slabs on the ground that used to be for the rental equipment lot. I'm going to fly up to the north, just show you the work that is underway to do more of this debris removal. And much of this is wood, tree debris, vegetation, and just other materials that have been stockpiled throughout this area over the last several years. The fact that they are clearing this up indicates that we'll probably see some construction through this location, also through the hills and valleys in the middle section with all the trees. We have this large field that is being prepared, and there's also in the past been permits for Harold Green Road, a new version of that, to come through this location. Now, I've had some viewers say that I am wrong with that. I've asked them to provide me the permits for the new construction that they believe is happening here. I have not heard back from the viewers that have said that there is something else going on here. So until then, I'll just go with what I have been able to see myself and what we can see here on the screen. Clearly, they are preparing this grade for something, and they're bringing in some of the gravel, also some of the what I believe is some of the crushed up concrete that's being spread throughout this section. I would expect it to be spread throughout the entire section. And then as developments happen, we'll see what actually is put in here, and we'll all figure that out together. But in the meantime, this does look like a construction site to me, and maybe you have a little bit different idea, but I would like to hear your thoughts in the comments about what is going on here if this is not a construction site. kind of turned around. I'm looking back towards where the concrete crushing operation is happening, plus some more of the earthwork at this south portion of this large field. We do see some water trucks for dust mitigation, and we see excavation work to remove the hill on the right-hand side of the screen. Near where all of the concrete crushing operation is underway, we see more of the hoppers and conveyor systems being stored temporarily in the right-hand bottom of the screen. More different kinds of materials being stacked here on the north side of the crushing operation. You can tell that much of the concrete crushed up materials is being removed and put into trucks for transport, and this very large mound of rebar that's being reclaimed from the concrete as it's being crushed up. As I mentioned, that large hill just to the south where River Road's going to come through, that material is being brought up here in addition to all of the rest of the material that is being recycled. This large pipe that you see that we're just about to fly over is the last remaining structure from the original baghouse plant, which is now where the electrical switch yard is being constructed. The transformers on the left-hand side of the screen are for Cortex 2. Those will be installed on some of the platforms that we just flew over on the west side of the building, which is coming to view now. Before we look at Cortex 2, I wanted to put some attention here to the battery cathode plant, some of the trailers at the bottom of the screen, the temporary loading platform that is relatively new on the left, and all of these materials, including what looks to be some generators being stored throughout this section. We see some concrete pipes and some vaults and some other pipes that are being stored. Next to the chiller plant for the battery cathode plant, which I'm still waiting for those plastic walls to be removed. Wanted to show you what they've been bringing up to the roof here. We saw a crane on my last video. Looks like some large ductwork has been brought up here and some enclosed roof access for people to come up to the roof as well. I'm going to take the advantage of this location to show you the chiller plant from this vantage point. We'll fly to the south along the alleyway, and I'll reposition the drone so we can take a look at what is going on at Cortex 2, as there is a lot of development that is underway. Still waiting to find out exactly what's happening here on the south end. I've had some viewers say that water tanks will not be placed here. So we'll just watch together and we'll find out what is going to be put here at some point in the near future. Here's a great view of the temporary cooling units. There is some excavation work at the base of the part 1 of the cooling unit. I'll zoom in so you can get a good view of what is going on, plus some of the activity next to the wall of Cortex 2, some of the large pipes, and a good sense of scale with the workers next to these transformers that are being installed next to the cooling unit. As we keep the zoom in, a good view of the fiber reinforced polymer beams that makes that superstructure that supports those 6 fans. I wanted to point that out because as we continue to fly to the north, we'll see that same structure being installed onto part 2 of the cooling unit. Of course, they have the perimeter base and concrete already in place. Some of the pipes on the ground for installation, but the 2 bunkers next to the building that we're just flying over still don't have any of the pipe work yet. And that differs from how they did part 1, as those pipes were put in early in the process. I'll zoom back out, looking to the north where we saw that field with the earthwork underway and the concrete crushing on the upper right of the screen. As I maneuver around here, I'll give you a view of how Cortex 2 looks from this vantage point back to the main factory, and of course the electrical switchyard on the right-hand side of the screen. I'm going to relocate to the south end of Cortex 2, and we'll look at what's going on the west side and some of the developments with the megapacks. There's approximately 130 megapacks installed so far. The majority are here on the west side, as you can see, and there's about 14 more next to the chiller unit on the upper right of the screen. It does look like they are preparing to double that number or come very close to doubling that number here on the northwest side. And you can tell what this is looking like right now. Some of the platforms have been installed. We see all of the screw type piers have been installed now. They're doing some trench work, some work on the asphalt, and preparing to put those platforms in. And here is some more of the work on the north part of the factory. So I'm not sure when they will start bringing in more of the electronic equipment and the megapacks, but we'll keep watching that. Now, there is some earthwork north of the electrical switch yard. As you can tell here, it's a new road. As I pan around, you can get a good sense of where that road comes from. They put some geo-mesh or geotextile membrane down, putting some gravel on top of that, and then I expect to see asphalt put in here. You can see the silt fence kind of defining the northern boundary of the construction site right now, where the road comes through to connect over to the concrete batch plant, and also where the rental equipment lot and landscaping materials are on the right-hand side of the screen. As I come back to the electrical switch yard, I'll show you what is going on here at the north end. These four large cylindrical items are bases for the power poles, very similar to what you see on the right-hand side of the screen. I'm still waiting to see where they're going to install those. As we fly back towards the switch yard itself, we'll fly over the materials staging yard, and we see that these kind of V-type circuit breakers are being positioned now onto their footings, and others are being brought in for installation. And that is something I've been waiting for a while, as those have been stored here on this south side next to where we see those wooden crates with the red kind of rubber or plastic tops. We see more of the disconnects at the ground level getting ready for installation, and then here next to the transformer we see more of the electronic equipment and steel being erected just to the south of that transformer, and more work on that slab and the catch basin. As I pirouette back towards Megapack 2, which is the battery electric storage system for Cortex 1 at the south end of the building, we see more of this equipment still being stored, waiting for its chance to be moved over to Cortex 2. And here is just some more equipment. I'm watching here to see if there's any of the fiber reinforced polymer beams arriving, which we've seen before, or any of the fan units, and right now we do not see that. So to end this video and prepare for the weekend, I thought I would bring the drone up to a much higher altitude so that we can look across the entire site of all of the areas that we visited. The top of the screen is over where that test track is located. We saw the outbound lot and end of line. On the left-hand side of the screen is where River Road Extension is, and where the warehouse on wheels with those trailers and the other equipment is where that advanced technology lab will be installed. And as we pull away from the battery cathode plant, die shop, and Cortex 2, we see this large field that is being prepared for something, and you can get a good sense of its location along with the main factory and Lone Tree Field coming into view on the left of the screen. So that will be it for this video. I appreciate your support. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great weekend. Take care.